Hello, everyone, and welcome to our session today on Nav Business Central, overview of navigation features. Joining us today is Mark Kane from Innovia Consulting, and we're excited to have such a fantastic turnout today. Before I pass it over to Mark to cover on this hot topic, I would like to remind you that this session is being recorded, and it will be posted to our on-demand webinar library later this week for you to review and share with anyone. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to type them into the questions box. We will get them answered during our Q&A time at the end of our session. And so now I will pass it on to Mark to kick off our presentation.
Okay, good morning, everybody. As Angie had said, my name is Mark Kane, and we're going to have a navigation session over Business Central. And I'm going to present that to you. So just a little bit about myself is I kind of joke that I'm a recovering CPA. My background is primarily in finance and operations. And I've been in the ERP space about 20 years. Oracle, PeopleSoft, Exact Software. I've been in the Microsoft space about 12 and been doing that for the past 10 years. Various releases from Role Center to currently the SaaS version of the cloud, which is what we're going to talk about a little bit today. I know it's a little difficult to do this on occasion, but I'm just kind of curious are you folks currently using Nav? Are you looking to evaluate this new package? I'm just, if you have a chance, if you can type in some of the answers, I'd be kind of curious, because what I didn't want to do is go over some of the things that they were kind of redundant to you. So if you can get that information to Angie, that would be great. So what I'm going to do here, I put together a little bit of an agenda, and as my first question was, are you utilizing Business Central, or is it a consideration now? We have had a lot of different things where you have people go from an on-prem version to the cloud version, and also people are coming off other softwares going to this because it is pretty much cloud-based, which makes the upgrades much, much easier than for some of the things in the past. So some of the navigation features I'm going to go over today, or I'm just going to go over the first traditional Role Center. And then after I go through all the different pieces of that, explain it, I'm going to go to show you how to go and select a different Role Center or the different types there are. And what I'm also going to do here is I'm going to go through the same process. And if you have multiple companies in Business Central, like I said, you can have as many companies as you want. And I'm going to show you how to go back and select those different company. Also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I'm going to call your best friend, which is the hourglass, which is the search function. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is go back and change back to the original Role Center just to show you how the look and feel changes on that. And then what I'm going to do is go into one of the item cards and show you how the personalization looks. You do have the ability, if you have Nav, you know this, to go in and move fields around, take fields off, put things back on. And it's kind of a nice feature. It helps you to keep the card uncluttered. And then at the end of this, I'm going to go back and I'm going to just review some financial reports. And again, like to Angie's point, if there's anything that you might want to see or have questions, please feel free to ask. So with that, I'm just going to go over here.
Mark, we do have some responses for you real quick.
Okay. Okay.
One will be transitioning in the near future.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then another one responded, re-implementing project from NAV 2009 RTC to BC on-premise.
Sounds like somebody I just spoke to yesterday. So we had the same.
That's all that we have so far.
Yeah. Okay. I was just kind of curious because, some people are familiar with it, some are not. So that's always good. So today, what I have here, this is going to show you, is this is the Role Center I have displayed. And this happens to be for a business manager. And what I'd like to just show you is when you get the application, there's probably about 24 standard roles that are in here. And the business manager is kind of a little bit of a catch-all because it has a lot of different information on here, mostly geared to the financials. So as you can see here, I've got these menu options up on the top under finance. I have a series of things like general journals and the chart of accounts, fixed assets, and budgets. Under cash management, I have cash flow forecast, bank account, bank statements, and payment journals. And under the sales shortcut, I have things like customers, item masters, and all the traditional sales type things, sales quotes, sales orders, blanket orders. Okay. Purchasing, much the same thing as the sales side, but from the purchase side, you would have vendors, you would have purchase quotes, orders, blanket orders, and the like. And for any of the IT folks in the room, sometimes if we have any third-party add-ons we have to put in here, they would be under extensions. And basically what you would do there is under the extensions, if you have a third-party ISV or something that you're going to consider, you would just go through here and just kind of implement it. So I just wanted to go through that real quick. The nice thing about this too is, go back to my home center, home screen here, is the fact that if you open one of these up and you want to see these things displayed all the time, all you have to do is kind of click on this thumbtack here, and they'll kind of stay there for you. Okay. All right. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. So also, if you want to just collapse that ribbon again, you can do that. So in going back to my role center, what you would do here is once you see the company's name, if you click on this, this will take you right back to your role center. So you can see how we got back there and shows the company I'm in. Now also, like I said, this one is kind of geared a little bit more towards financials, but you also have actions in here. You can get the sales quotes and create things here, or sales orders, if you care to. Okay, so like I said, you have an option here. If it's not up here in one of these drop downs, it's probably here on the face of the role center here. Okay, what I wanted to do now is just go through the rest of these, some of the things that are displayed here. You can see in the activities field, and all of these are drill down capabilities here. So if you have anything, you have any numbers here or anything, if you want to drill down and see this, like for example, if I want to see how many of my open sales invoices are still here, I can click on it, and these are called stacks. If you're using NAV now, it probably doesn't look a whole lot different than that. And let's go take a look here at some of these ongoing purchase orders. I must have a date filter on here. Okay, so you can have, that's how this is going to look here. You can also look at this thing where the favorite accounts is. You want to go check in and look at some of these things here. These are all personalizable by you. So this particular one will take us right into the general ledger. And from the general ledger, if I want to see any of these transactions, I can go back here and I can go down and I can search and drill down on this. So on the more options, I go here and I go to navigate. And for that particular line item, what that's going to do, it's going to give me all the table entries that were created for that particular transaction. So in this case, this happened to be something that was just general ledger sensitive. And obviously this was a customer ledger entry. So I can even go down a bit further if I wanted to see what the entire transaction was. And I can make the screen a little bigger by taking off this, clicking on this little thing. To me, it looks like a clock or a button. And it takes out the navigation pane over here just to make this a little bit more visible. Okay. So I'm just going to go back up to my role center now. And some other things you can put in here, you can put some trial balance data on this particular look and view. And also down here, we have a reports inbox, which you can also personalize and put information in there. There's some other things here which may or not pertain to your company per se, but we have timesheets if you're using jobs, and we also have requests for approval. So what I wanted to show you is, like I said, since this particular business manager happens to be more geared towards the financial, I'm going to go in here again and I'm going to change the role just to show you how the look and feel is different. So I'm going to change it, not the company. I'm going to change it from business manager, and I'm going to change it to dispatcher. So as you can see, the entire look and feel is completely different. Okay. On this particular view, a lot fewer bits of information on here. But again, all of these things can be personalized. Now, in your companies of the people that use NAV right now, the role center and the permissions are two different things. So you could, a half a dozen of you could have the same role center, but you could have different permissions based on the functions that your company allows you to do. Okay. So I'm just going to go back here, and I'm going to change this back to business manager. Now, again, this is probably something that you're going to sit down with your team and decide what role would be most appropriate for you. And like I said, there's a whole bunch of these things that are defaulted. And if need be, and if your company has the requirements to do so, we also could, create customized roles for you, but we kind of try to stay away from that. So, okay, so the other thing I wanted to do here is I just wanted to show you by going back up to this thing, it looks like a gear, going to my settings, I can also change the company that I'm in. So in Business Central, in the same database, you can have as many companies as you want. If you're currently using Nav, you're probably familiar with that. But I'm just going to go in here and select a different company. Okay. I'm just going to take that out. And as you can see now, my company's changed. Okay. One more thing I want to show you on this page before we go into this is I'm going to go back and just change this company back because I have a little bit more seated information in here that I can show you. This will go back to my regular company. Okay. One last thing I wanted to show you here is if in case you can't find something on the page in one of these drop-down menus or one of these shortcuts, if you go up to this little button here that looks like an hourglass to me, and you go in here and start typing something in, basically it's going to take you to pages and tasks and also reports and analyses. So for example, I happen to type in the word item here. So in this particular case, anything that's related to an item is going to show up in this list. And basically what happens after that is you can go to what you want to see here and you can kind of drill down on it. Okay. Now I also could have gotten there from going back up to the menu and clicking on service. I'll just step back a second here. I could have gone here and selected items from here. So again, if it's something you just don't see or not familiar with right away, yeah, as I tell people, fall in love with this button. It'll be a savior for you when you want to find things. Okay. So what I wanted to show you now is I wanted to go through and go into a little bit of the personalization. And basically what that is we have the ability to go in here and by using the personalization, I can change the look and feel of the way this particular page looks right now. So for example, if I go up to the little bit of a gear here and I go on personalize. Now, once I'm in here, as you can see, when I start scrolling over, you'll see a little red button here. And basically I have the ability to move or hide or exclude it from a quick entry. So what I can normally do here, I can come in here and I'm just going to show you this one here. So I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to hide that. Okay. So now you can see that's gone. Okay, but let's say, for example, I wanted to bring that back. If I go here and I click on field, what it's going to do, it's going to display a menu here with things that are not visible right now, but I can make them visible on this card. So if I go in here and I kind of grab this and I bring it over here, as you can see, it comes out of the menu here and it goes back over to the page. And for the most part, and I'm going to say this, I'm going to stretch this a little bit. For the most part, you can do this with most of the fields that are on here. So for example, a common one is sometimes the tax group code is necessary, okay, because you may not be using sales tax. So just to make that a little cleaner on that, you can go in here and you can hide it. You can see it's going to drop back in here. But again, in case you want to bring it back, you can do that. Now, the thing that's nice about the personalization, this is basically key to your user ID. So in other words, if you had a couple of people that look at the item master, but they want to have a little different look and feel in that, you can drop and drag these fields by the individual user, so it's not a global setting. Okay. And when you're done with that, all you have to do is click on done, everything goes away, and now you've got your recalculated card. The other thing I make people aware of here, if you'll see this, you go in the first time, there's a button here in each of the fast tabs, and that's what these are called, fast tabs, where what happens is a lot of times when you open this up the first time, you have a filtered view here. So I've had people call me up and they go, oh my gosh, I can't see some of these fields on here. And I just said, well, the first time, and you only have to do this once, is if you go into it and you click on show more. I just recommend you go on there and do this on every page you go into the first time. After you do that, it'll sit here and it'll give you the filtered look of everything that's open. Okay. But the last thing I wanted to show before we get out of here, it's going to go back to my home screen, is like I had said too, the other thing which is kind of nice is that going back here, and since this happens to be more of finance associated role center, is I can go right up to here and I can look at my financial statements and I'm going to select the balance sheet and I'm just going to pick it at the end of as of the end of the year. And I have the option of previewing it. I can print it, or from here, I can send it to a different type of document. So if you are going to distribute reports on a regular basis, but don't want anybody kind of fiddling around with them, you can send it as a PDF so that they have the report. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to preview. So let's go back to that. And just make that a little bigger so it's easier to see. There I have my balance sheet. Tells me what the period is, tells me the company I'm in, tells me the starting date and ending date on that. Then also from here, if I want to, I can save it as usually a web page or a PDF or something like that if I want to. Usually it's a little easier going right from the menu. Okay. So I'm just going to drop back here again. I'm going to run another report. I'm going to run the income statement. And let's just run it for the whole year. And let's preview. Let's make that a little bigger. Okay. And basically, this is called for those of you non-native users. This is used basically using what we call an account schedule, which is basically we come up with what are the row numbers, which are the general ledger account numbers, and the columns are basically, you know, am I running this period? Am I going to run it against budget? Am I going to have a calculation? Things like that. And you can have unlimited numbers of account schedules, you know, in different flavors of that. So you can have an account schedule that has 12 columns. You can have an account schedule that has 2 columns if you want to. Okay. So that's basically it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pop back over here. Okay, so we went over, you know, asked the question, are you utilizing Business Central or Consideration? I think we've got a nice mix of both. And went through the navigation feature of the Role Center, how to select the Role Center, how to access and select different BC companies, review of search button features, showed you how to return back to the Role Center by clicking on the company name, showed you the personalization, how you can kind of slice and dice and personalize make changes. And like I said before, the personalization is by user. It's not an across the board change. So if it's not like as though if somebody takes something off, nobody's going to see that field. That's kind of the beauty about that. And just went over some base financial reports. Okay. So for all the nice folks out there, are there any questions I can answer for you?
Thank you, Mark. Yes, we do have a question that came through. Can you set this up for a group of people so they have the same screens for training purposes?
The answer is yes, but you would go into each of the individuals. What you would do is you'd go to each of the individuals' login here. I just want to show you. So this happens to be my login here. And all you have to do is go up and you would set it, you would set this here. So you would select this. It's usually a one-time setup, and normally what ends up happening, we help you with that the first time. After your company has gone through to decide, okay, what do we think is the appropriate role for that? Remember, the role center and the permissions are 2 different things. The ability to do something or not to do something is set with permissions. It really doesn't have anything to do with the role center.
Okay, thank you. Then another question came through. Do you suggest support material?
get into the package itself, you can go to Partner Source, you get an account with them, and they usually have a lot of documentation and videos on that. I mean, there's also a ton of stuff online too. You can go that route, and most of it's fairly comprehensive.
All right, thank you very much for that. And let's see, we do have a couple other ones possibly. Back to the previous question, can you set this up for a group of people so they have the same screens for training purposes? More screens, not the roles.
The answer is yes. We could take off or add pages for that. I'm sorry, I didn't understand. I misunderstood the question.
Okay. And can there be a similar webinar showing the on-premise version? Would you be able to do that in the future?
The answer is yes. I just have to get signed on to a different database. That's all. This one happens to be in the cloud.
All right. Well, if anybody has any further questions, please go ahead and get those typed in and we will get those answered for you. Thank you for the presentation, Mark.
Oh, you're welcome. Anytime.
All right, and thank you everyone who is on today's call, and if you are watching on demand, thank you for joining us. And I just want to let you know we do have a few more webinars coming soon. We actually have one this afternoon with Dynamic eShops, and that's Naveen Reddy, and he's going to be presenting on a powerful e-commerce solution built for both on-prem and Cloud Dynamics 365 ERP. And then next Wednesday, August 7th, we have Daniel Palmer and Bryce Menadue from Innovia Consulting, and they're going to be presenting on source control best practices. And check out our website for more of our upcoming events, and that's innovia.com/events. And we also want to mention that we have our new podcast going on. It's called the Innovia Conversation, and you can find out all about the different podcast platforms that you can listen to on our podcast page, and that's innovia.com/podcast. So check out the podcast selection and subscribe so you get notified when new episodes come out. And Innovia is proud to be a platinum sponsor of BCUG NAVUG Summit in Orlando, Florida this year. And those dates are October 13th through the 18th. And if you haven't registered already, or if you want more information about Summit, check out our conference page on our website, and that's innovia.com/conferences. All right, everyone. Well, thank you again for joining us. Thank you for the presentation, Mark.
Oh,
And
you're welcome.
we look forward to seeing you again soon on another Innovia webinar. Have a great day, everyone.